Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed. Mahatma Gandhi. In an interview with Vogue Scandinavia, Greta Thunberg stated that the fashion industry is a major environmental stressor, and it neglects the rights of workers. Fast fashion uses low-cost mass manufacturing to produce clothing articles, which are only worn a few times and forgotten about shortly after. This process creates a lot of environmental detriment through waste and pollution, both during production and post-consumption. However, many brands today are beginning to implement sustainable practices using new technology, and consumers themselves can also help mitigate the wastefulness of fast fashion. Now that we know what it is, where do we see it? Take a minute to look at what you're wearing right now. If it comes from a big brand, or if it looks like it came from a mall, then chances are it is fast fashion. And the truth is, it is everywhere, but it is unethical in many ways. Nowadays, the time it takes to go from trending to in stores is as little as 2 weeks. Oana Maria Cosma wrote a paper titled From Developing to Underdeveloping Economies, the Storyline of Slavery and Nowadays Consumption, where she addresses how modern-day slavery is prevalent. Zara was one of the examples. In 2011, an investigation was done on Zara, which revealed that they were sourcing labor from a Brazilian factory in which 15 immigrants were working in tiny spaces for up to 16 hours a day. And this is not only unique to Zara, but you can see this across the whole fashion industry. Simply put, the fast fashion industry uses inhumane practices for efficiency, cost, and profit. So fast fashion in terms of human labor is unethical, but why else should we care about it? Well, mass production uses cheap materials, leading to low-quality products that don't last as long. Purchases aren't worn often and sometimes only even once, promoting a throwaway society. In 2023, York's University Department of Biology reviewed fast fashion's impact on water quality. They stated that the fashion industry is the second most polluting industry, contributing to 8% of all carbon emissions and 20% of all global wastewater. So not only does the manufacturing process use a lot of water, but it also pollutes it uses a lot of water through the cultivation of plants, animals, machinery, and treatments, but it also pollutes it. Treatments and their byproducts are difficult to biodegrade, and they contaminate fresh water. Not only does not to mention the textile waste it creates in the landfills. But what can be done about the effects of fast fashion on the environment? Well, in my research, I came across a term called the circular economy. Now, imagine our current model of production as a linear line, where raw materials are extracted, refined, produced, and finally disposed of. Now imagine a circular model, which instead of being disposed, it is recycled and reused. The circular economy is a model of production and consumption which emphasizes 5 R's, which may vary, but 5 that capture the gist are refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and refurbish. This circular economy aims to minimize waste and promote sustainability. From the producer's perspective, there are many ways that brands can take action towards sustainability. The use of recycled fibers in fast fashion and home products by Karen Leonis discusses the many methods used by producers in the fast fashion industry today. Several methods are used, such as waste recycled materials such as plastics to create new fibers via chemical or physical processes. This study referenced a brand we all know and love, Nike. Nike has been using sustainable practices for quite some time, ever since the 1990s when they introduced their Reuse a Shoe program. Throughout the years, they have also found new methods to incorporate old materials into new products, which would have been waste otherwise. According to Leonis, about 71% of their clothing products contain recycled materials, and in their 2015 fiscal year, they stated that 54 million pounds of waste were reprocessed and reused. Knowing what companies are doing is great, but what can we as individuals do to promote the circular economy? Well, recall those 5 R's: refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and refurbish. The first one is refuse. The average customer should, in general, try to spend less and give into impulsive buys less. We should do our research when it comes to brands about their sustainability practice and sourcing. And we should do our research on brands about their sustainability practice and sourcing should we decide to buy new. Consumers could also invest in higher quality and timeless clothing, which can be styled and last for a long time if they can afford it. Another notable R is reused. Instead of tossing away clothing, we could donate it or resell it. Online reselling is one option to secondhand clothing that is on the rise recently. Thrifting is another popular and cheap way to find clothes that are in need of new homes. However, the argument when it comes to secondhand clothing is that it is of low quality because these are reused items. But that is another effect of fast fashion. And those products would have ended up in landfill anyway. And through clothing donation, the lifespan of a garment is prolonged. I've even seen clothing swaps around San Francisco State University, so I know it's a very accessible way to be sustainable. To conclude, let's review. Fast fashion is the mass production of high-demand styles using outsourced cheap materials and labor. The overproduction as well as discarding of these garments puts immense pressure on the environment. Brands today can combat this by employing new methods of recycling, and consumers can combat this by buying from sustainable brands or buying clothes secondhand to keep them out of the dumps. Fast fashion is a sign of the times. It highlights one of the major flaws of today's society as well as human nature. Every day, new technologies are being produced to aid sustainability efforts in the production of clothes. We're at the tip of the iceberg, and as time goes on, we can expect more and more brands to do their part in preserving this earth. But it also takes effort on our parts to support these brands and make conscious choices in being sustainable. Thank you.